South St. Paul City Hall and the June 24th, 2019 meeting of the South St. Paul Board of Education. Wendy, will you please take the roll?
Inspector Diaz?
Here.
Inspector Bjorklund?
Here.
Inspector McClellan?
Here.
Inspector Walker?
Here.
Inspector Aaron?
Here.
Inspector Lalaberty?
Here.
Inspector Felton is present, 7 members.
Thank you. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, again, good evening. Tonight in our Quality in Action, we'll start off with an exciting update from Connie Garling-Squire, our Learning and Equity Director, who's going to give us an update on a couple of partnerships that we have with Dakota County, which we heard from her at the COW meeting, and she introduced what's going on with them. And as I said, they are really exciting. There's good stuff there. So welcome, Connie, and thank you.
Terrific. Thanks so much. It's always great to be able to update the board and our community about some really wonderful partnerships that we are engaged with, especially with Dakota County. And so first, I'd like to talk a little bit about our Birth to Age 8 initiative. What this is a collaborative effort with an intention. What we want to do is bring essential partners together who provide services to our young families with young children, because we want to do a better job of tracking developmental milestones for all of our kids before they get to school, in those early years of school, because if we can do that, then we can provide match families with services that might enhance the learning of our youngest kids as they're running up into school. We'd love if we could get as many of our kids reading on grade level by the time they're in 3rd grade. We know that's one of those key times in development, because research tells us that if kids are reading well by 3rd grade, they're more likely to graduate high school, they're more likely to achieve greater economic status and stability along the way. We know how important it is to improve those academic readiness outcomes in life, and we know we need to start earlier. There's this return on investment that happens when we can really address needs of our children at the youngest ages. Every dollar we spend young is a dollar less that we need to spend as children grow and then enter the workforce and enter the housing market. And so this intentional collaboration is between Dakota County, a number of school districts in Dakota County. South St. Paul is a proud member of this group, as is our neighbor in Inver Grove Heights, West St. Paul, Mendota Heights, Egan, and Burnsville, Egan Savage. We've all been collaborating together with Dakota County Community Services and Public Health. And we have some nonprofit partners, 360 Communities, who, as you know, are our family support workers here in South St. Paul. We have a great relationship with CAP Head Start agencies. They'll be involved in this effort. We know that it takes more than just schools and more than just county services to support our families. And so we really will, in the end, be able to wrap all of our nonprofits into this system as well. But to start, we are starting with our 4 school districts in Dakota County. What we intend to do is to build a system that is efficient and collaborative, so that we can track developmental milestones. So make sure that our kiddos are on track in their social development, in their physical development, in their emotional development along the way. And if we're missing one of those milestones, if we know that a kiddo missed early childhood screening at age 3 or missed an important assessment by a doctor at age 1, then we'll gently and lovingly reach out to our families and say, hey, we've noticed that there's something missing. How can we help get these things sorted out? And is there any other service that we can help match you with? So early identification is the magic effort here. This project has taken a bit to coordinate, and what we have learned is that the more schools understand about how the county services work, and the more county services understand how school districts work and the services that we all can provide together, the more likely our families are going to be able to access the supports that they have the right to access. So we started with some practice sessions. Let's see if we can figure out a way to break down some barriers between public schools and county services. We knew in early learning, which is what I represent here, that we were working with some of the same families that probably the WIC nurses were working with in Dakota County. So we actually started with a WIC partnership way back in 2016. I believe I've reported about this partnership in this body before, but we've had some fabulous responses. We've been able to, with a really simple agreement, have our WIC nurses look at a family whose address is in South St. Paul and say, hey, would you like the school district to reach out to you so that you could learn a little bit more about what the school district could offer you and your family, your young kids before school? And if the family says yes, all we need is a name and a phone number. That name and phone number comes to the school district, and within a day, our early learning office will contact that family and make matches with services that we have available. We have been able to find families that we didn't know that lived in South St. Paul. We've been able to offer families early childhood family education and free preschool because we're the happy recipients of voluntary pre-kindergarten here in the state of Minnesota. We've been able to bring kids into school earlier just because of one question that our WIC nurses are asking. And when those are the kinds of wins that we can get to when services are collaborating, those are easy but super important wins. So since 2016, we've averaged finding over 300 families in northern and in these 4 districts that we've been working with in Dakota County. That's huge for a small district like ours to be able to find families. It helps to generate funds for the school districts, but it also gets families connected to school earlier. So here's a little visual to show we've had just a great response for early childhood family education classes, so much so that in the coming year, in the school year 1920, all of our afternoon programming in South St. Paul, early childhood family ed, will be offered with Spanish translation because we have so many Spanish-speaking families that are now connected even more in our early childhood family ed classes. So we're thrilled about that. A positive here. We've also been able to take a target on when we want early childhood screening to happen. People know this as, oh, that test you have to take before kids can go to kindergarten. Often, people misunderstand what early childhood screening is and think that it's a pass or fail. And families sometimes hold back to bring kids to screening, thinking if I wait until kids are older, they'll do better. In fact, the opposite needs to happen. We want to see kids at age 3.5 because developmentally, if kids are on track, great, you're done, off to kindergarten by the time kids are 5. If at 3.5 there's still some worries or a few concerns, or maybe there's language, or maybe there's some developmental things going on, we want to know about that as early as possible to help our families match the services that they need. So don't wait for early childhood screening until kindergarten. Our target is age 3.5. So we've actually had a campaign about that in Dakota County, thanks to this system that we say, you're 3, visit me, and we're trying to just reframe what screening is all about. Come learn about school. Come learn about us, and you're going to go home with a book. You're going to go home with resources. I even hear they're getting pencils now. So screening has now just turned upside down in bringing more people into screening, and we've actually gotten like almost a 10% bump of people coming to screening earlier than they used to, which is a really positive thing as well. So as a backdrop to all of that, we did receive some funding from our legislature, the state of Minnesota, to help build a computerized system to help support the collaboration and communication that needs to happen between and among services. So we're working with our public health in Dakota County, and we have been able to build a portal, to build this system that will make communicating with the other folks that are also serving our families easier, so that families' experiences are also easier, and that's the whole point. Oh, so there's no reason to try to read these little tiny letters. But what this is a chart to show the kinds of developmental milestones we're going to be watching for at birth, and from 0 to 36 months, and at early childhood screening, and at kindergarten, and then reading by 3rd grade. The part at the bottom below the red line, this is the way that we're going to be able to evaluate our systems. If we are noticing that kids between 0 and 36 months are really having more needs than what are available services in our community, then we'd be able to advocate better. Right now, we don't know if there's a mismatch. We don't know if we have 4-year-olds that could really use more of this kind of service or that kind of service in order to be really ready for kindergarten. So part of this whole system is also a systems look to make sure that we are advocating and providing services for all the kiddos that need it. We're going to start a soft launch this fall. And so we are going to start to enroll families who might be interested in just having that extra check, that extra look, making sure that kids are on track. We'd love to be able to include all of our families, whether your kids are, if you're worried about any of their development or if you're not worried about any of their development. How great to know that there's also somebody watching that your kiddo's on track too. And so this fall, through public health and through the school districts, we're going to be inviting families into this pilot. It's a simple consent form that they'll sign, one signature for the county and one signature for the school districts, and then we're going to create the conditions for folks to surround these families, to offer services that might be helpful. We'll also spend quite a lot of time getting feedback from our families to find out what we're missing, to find out what works, and to make this a system that will be easily accessible to everybody. Like I said, we'll talk about those milestones. We'll want to make sure that everybody's on target. And so in the fall, you will hear about Birth to 8, and here's our logo. So you'll notice, you know, some bright colors and 1s, 2s, and 3s, and it's all about our kids' development before kindergarten. This is a sample of what our school district and public health staff members will be able to see. This is what that portal is going to be looking like and what we're going to do for any family who's enrolled. Only the people who are working with that family will ever see that child's information. This isn't anything that if I'm a principal at Kaposia that I would ever see anybody's information from Lincoln Center. This is very private stuff. And we really know that and really understand that privacy need. But what we will be able to do as an administrator in early learning, I'll be able to monitor and make sure that the kids that are in the program, green means we're on track, yellow means, well, we could really kind of check in. Red might mean, oh boy, either something's missing or something really happened. And so that extra call, that extra person to connect with those families, and that's what the simplicity of this whole business is about. So we're going to finish some legal joint powers agreements. We're going to standardize some of our communications tools, and we're going to have this soft launch in September. So we're really excited about bringing this opportunity for people all over Dakota County. And we're also really interested in expanding this opportunity outside of Dakota County, as other districts are showing us that they're also really interested in breaking some of these barriers. So we're happy about that. So there'll be some staff training, and this is our training portal here in our school district. And that's what the Birth to 8 initiative is all about. So I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about Birth to 8 and to say thank you to our Dakota County partners, they have been absolutely wonderful to work with the right heart for the kids and families in our communities. Ta-da.
Wonderful.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's so
Wendy?
wonderful.
Connie, I just have a question.
Yeah.
Like, you mentioned that we have a large, Hispanic population in South St. Paul, and that the ECFE programs, will be doing a lot of classes in Spanish. Do you ever refer any of those parents that may come to those classes to our ABE programs, if they're interested in learning more English skills or working on a possible GED or anything like that? That would really be a good collaboration also for ECFE to connect with ABE.
It's a great collaboration. And in fact, there's 6 hours of our programming includes an ABE teacher that comes in and co-teaches with our parenting teachers. So that's called family learning. And those classes last for 3 hours. And so parents get both parent education, adult basic education, and kids are in a preschool environment all at the same time. So 6 hours of that programming, and we had to expand this year because we had so many families that were interested in enhancing English and having that experience all along. So you're absolutely right on.
Good,
That's
thank you.
exactly it.
So cool.
Right.
Go away. Did you have another?
Nope, go ahead.
So just a shout out to Connie. What you may or may not be aware of is that the work that Connie has done in partnership with the county has won numerous awards. Getting an agreement and a form developed that we can put in front of families, or the nurses, the WIC family nurses can put in front of families to share school district information, and we can get name and phone number so we can contact them and provide more. Took us about a year of legal conversations to be able to just have that one agreement put in place. But Connie led the process, worked with teams from the county and other school districts. So just a shout out to you, Connie, for one being an award winner, but more than anything, caring so deeply about this age group, knowing the benefits to our community, and to see the number of families that are now coming into ECFE that never knew about it, or coming into free voluntary pre-K because they never knew about it. We just want to say thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have just another topic, so also connected with our Dakota County partners. We are now the recipients of a $98,000 grant from the Safe Routes to School. That's a national program that is going to help support us over the course of the next 3 years with a part-time employee, like through and with Dakota County, to help create the conditions in our community, in our neighborhoods, to help enhance how we safely walk to school together, how we can create the conditions for more bike riding in a reasonable and safe way. How can we get to know our neighbors a little bit more so that I can trust that my second grader could walk to school with the fifth grader and it would all be okay. So those events that we have, like in May, I think we got rained out, but in May there was going to be a walk to school day. You might have heard, right? School districts would have these events to help promote more walking to school. Now we'll be able to enhance those kinds of events all year long, which does nothing but help our kids get outside more, get more exercise, to be ready to learn when they come to school. So we're really excited about the Safe Routes to School grant that we also received, and that continued partnership with Dakota County Public Health.
So once again, our staff is just going above and beyond, applying for, writing for additional grants. This was the latest. So how about another round of applause for another $100,000?
I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you for coming in, Connie. Boy, really good stuff, no doubt. So we'll move on to the agenda. We'll start off with the approval of the meeting agenda and minutes, and that's for the school board meeting agenda for tonight, June 24th, 2019, and the committee of the whole meeting minutes from June 10th, 2019, and the regular board meeting minutes from June 10th, 2019. Do I have a motion for their approval?
So moved.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Then they are approved. Thank you. The consent items made up of the financial claims and the staffing. Do I have a motion for their approval?
So moved.
Thank you, Patty. Any second?
Second.
Thank you, Wendy. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? And the consent agenda is approved. Next is the superintendent's report with Dr. Webb.
Great, well, good evening. So we have moved, if you're an avid follower of school board meetings, we've moved the superintendent update earlier in our meeting. One of the vision points for the school board is to not only increase but improve community communication and transparency, and really giving more information at our regular on-air meetings so people can follow along better at home. So here goes. Our here we go, our board meeting that we just had, our committee of the whole board work session that happens just prior to this meeting. We discussed a staffing update. We are deep into hiring season right now, and we are hiring some wonderful people coming on board. We had a number of wonderful retirees that we said farewell to just a few weeks ago, and so we are busy replacing all of our retirees and hiring folks on board. So we're busy, very busy behind the scene. Everybody thinks, oh, you just take the summer off, but not true when you're a principal or superintendent or the rest. Next, our student transportation contracts are up for approval tonight for the board. We have now come to the end of our contracts with Safeway Bus Company and Wide Area Transportation Services that we call WATSI, and that expires July 31st, 2019. So tonight's recommendation is to secure a new contract. What's new and unique about this proposal is we are not only having our regular recommendation for Safeway Bus, but we have two additional kind of support, kind of the smaller vehicle, vans and whatnot, that provide a lot of other support and auxiliary transportation services throughout Dakota County. What you may or may not know is we have about 100 students that are in specialty programs outside of our regular buildings, and they need to get to and from those programs. So tonight, we have a recommendation not only for Safeway Bus, but also for WATSI again, and then a new transportation service agreement with Twin City Transportation. So we're recommending those three. It was all based on 4 vision points that we laid out. We wanted to make sure that the following 4 points were met in order for the bus companies to qualify. So 1, we wanted to make sure that they could arrange for our regular transportation services. 2, identify opportunities to contain costs, and the cost increases and reduce costs where reasonable. 3, maximize state aids for student transportation services. And 4, sustain quality student transportation services. So each of these companies tonight, when we get into our business section, you'll have a recommendation from management to move those forward this evening. So next, 2 weeks ago at this meeting, we shared with you our budget proposals for all of our budgets for the coming school year. So those are in front of you again tonight for approval. Next, Connie just stole my thunder here with the Safe Routes to School grant. So I'll just remind you, another $98,000. And people quickly forget, but we got $500,000 to reset the safety and security and main office area at the secondary building, and many additional safety and security features at the high school. We have a $210,000 grant for a program called Innocent Classroom that will be just really teacher support for working with all students in the classroom. And we have additional news that will be coming in another 2 weeks that I won't steal other people's thunder for. So just really good news. We're writing for more grants, we're getting more grants, and it's great for South St. Paul kids. Here's some inside construction barrel full of construction material behind the scenes photos. So the photo down below is all the high school office equipment out in the hallway covered up with plastic as we're ripping apart the main office to reset it with secured entrances. At Lincoln Center, in the next few weeks, you'll see that we will be installing a new playground, and not just for the 5-year-olds to 12-year-olds. We also have a new one for children ages 2 through 5. So that'll be a new feature. And then I think I mentioned this before, but we're replacing one of the boilers at Lincoln Center to increase our efficiency there.
Kaposia.
Dave.
Did I say Lincoln Center?
Yeah.
Kaposia.
Yeah.
Good correction. Thanks for catching that. Kaposia, new boiler. And then our golf tournament to raise funds for all of our South St. Paul Open Foundation. And just as a reminder, the Open Foundation gives back for things like uniforms and scoreboards, and what some people think of our extras are really just the core of many of our activity and athletic programs. So shout out to the Open. If you can join us for dinner, dinner starts at 6 p.m. You do need tickets ahead of time. We always like to know ahead of time. And golf, if you'd like to golf with a foursome or find a foursome, that starts at 12:30. And again, that's July 15th. Our summer programs are well underway, lots of great opportunities for students. As a reminder, we are a hub, as with most districts in the area, for a summer meals program. You can come right to our school districts at Lincoln Center, Kaposia, and the secondary. And I put outside of South St. Paul on here too, because most school districts around us offer this at their schools as well. So if you're an open enrolled student coming out of West St. Paul or Inver Grove or another district, just look at your own home district's website to find out a food distribution near you. I won't read these, just a great smattering of all of our district programs. And then finally, if you want any of our meeting materials and minutes, just follow this tree to find all of our information about the meetings. We'll go back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Webb. Very good information indeed. Back to the agenda. Next item is our policy section. Unlike last meeting where we had to read off 27 policies, there's one this meeting that is being approved, and that is our school closing policy number 307, which needed a little tweaking after last winter, but that's been taken care of, and we're approving it tonight. If I can get a motion to approve it.
So moved.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Then the policy change is approved. There are 5 business items. The first 3 are, as Dr. Webb talked about in his update, the resolutions for the transportation services. So the first one, which is the approval of the contract with Safeway Bus, we'll look to Nikki to read and move.
Whereas the district determined that Safeway Bus Company is a responsible service provider as required by Minnesota Statutes 2019, Section 123B.52, Subdivision 1 and 3, from among the firms who written quotations in response to the district's specification for student transportation services and expressed interest in the district's student transportation services. And whereas the district determined that Safeway Bus is the best lower-cost service provider as required by Minnesota Statute 2019, Section 123B.52, Subdivision 1 and 3, from among the firms who responded to the district's legal notice for student transportation services. whereas the district determined that Safeway Bus is a responsible service provider consistent with Minnesota statutes 2019, section 123B.52, subdivision 1 and 3. Whereas the district has determined that Safeway Bus has the experience and reputation to provide the services required by the district and provided quality transportation services for many years when Safeway Bus has been a service provider. Therefore, South St. Paul Public Schools, Special School District Number 6, approves the agreement for student transportation services with Safeway Bus for the next 2 school years, 2019-20 and 2020-21, with an option to extend the contract for an additional 1 or 2 contract years, 21-22 and 22-23, for the terms and rates included.
Thank you, Nikki. Do I have a second on the resolution?
Second.
Thank you, Patty. Any discussion? If not, Wendy, please call the roll.
Inspector Felton says yes. Inspector Aaron?
Yes.
Inspector Lalaberty?
Yes.
Inspector Diaz?
Yes.
Inspector Bjorklund?
Yes.
Inspector McClellan?
Yes.
Inspector Walker?
Yes.
7 yeas.
Thank you. That resolution is approved. The next, also related to the transportation services, is the contract with the Wide Area Transportation Services. And to read and move that resolution, I'll look to Wendy.
Okay. Whereas the district determined that Wide Area Transportation Services, otherwise LLC, known as WATSI, W-A-T-S-I, is a responsible service provider as required by Minnesota statutes 2019, sections 123B.52, subdivisions 1 and 3, from among the firms who written quotations in response to the district's specification for student transportation services and expressed interest in the district's student transportation services. And whereas the district determined that WATSI is the best, lower cost service provider as required by Minnesota statutes 2019, sections 123B.52, subdivision 1 and 3, from among the firms who responded to the district's legal notice for student transportation services. Whereas the district determined that WATSI is a responsible service provider consistent with Minnesota statutes 2019, sections 123B.52, subdivisions 1 and 3. Whereas the district has determined that WATSI has the experience and reputation to provide the service required by the district and provided quality transportation services during the recent 3 years when WATSI has been a service provider. Therefore, South St. Paul Public Schools, Special School District Number 6, approves the agreement for student transportation services with WATSI for the coming 2 contract years. Contract year 2019-20 and 2020-21, with an option to extend the contract for an additional 1 or 2 contract years, school years 21-22 or 22-23, for the terms and rates included.
Thank you, Wendy. Do I have a second on the resolution?
Second.
Thank you, Jeff. Any discussion? If not, Wendy, please call the roll.
Inspector Diaz?
Yes.
Inspector Bjorklund?
Yes.
Inspector McClellan?
Yes.
Inspector Aaron?
Yes.
Inspector Lalaberty?
Yes.
Inspector Felton says yes. Inspector Walker?
Yes.
7 yeas.
Thank you. That resolution is approved. The third resolution regarding the transportation services is to approve the contract with Student Transportation Services with Twin City Transportation Services, the TCT contract. And to read and move that, Linda will take care of that.
Thank you. It may sound a little familiar.
Sure.
Whereas the district determined that Twin City Transportation, Inc., TCT, is a responsible service provider as required by Minnesota statutes 2019, section 123B.52, subdivisions 1 and 3, from among the firms who written quotations in response to the district specification for student transportation services and expressed interest in the district's student transportation services. And whereas the district determined that TCT is the best, lower-cost service provider as required by Minnesota statutes 2019, Section 123B.52, subdivisions 1 and 3, from among the firms who responded to the district's legal notice for student transportation services. Whereas the district determined that TCT is a responsible service provider consistent with Minnesota statutes 2019, Section 123B.52, subdivisions 1 and 3. Whereas the district has determined that TCT has the experience and reputation to provide the services required by the district and provided quality transportation services during the recent 3 years when WOTC has been a service provider. Therefore, Sault Ste. Paul Public Schools, Special School District 6, approves the agreement for student transportation services with TCT for the next 2 contract years 2019, 2020, and 2020-21, with an option to extend the contract for an additional 1 or 2 contract years, school years 21-22 and/or 22-23, for the terms and rates included.
Thank you, Linda. Do I have a second on the resolution?
Second?
Thank you. Any discussion? If not, Wendy, please call the roll.
Inspector Bjorklund,
Yes.
Inspector Diaz,
Yes.
Inspector Lalaberty,
Yes.
Inspector Aaron,
Yes.
Inspector McClellan,
Yes.
Inspector Felton votes yes, Inspector Walker,
Yes.
7 yeas.
Thank you. That resolution is also approved. Next is the approval, and this goes back to one of the items Dr. Webb talked about, the budget for the 2019-20 school year. So we're looking for that approval for next year's budget. Do I have a motion to approve it?
So moved.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Then the budget is approved for next year. Lastly is for the South St. Paul School Board to approve the 2019-2020 Independent Employee Agreement. Do I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? And that motion also passes. Next is the informational items from the board members, and we'll start off to my right with Linda.
Oh, nothing for me.
All right, it was a quieter 2 weeks.
Yes, it has been.
You might hear that, but thank you. Patty?
I'd just like to say that we're looking forward to seeing everybody at the Kaposia Days Parade. The school board will be doing their regular trip down the street with candy, and the Kids' Choice kids will be with us, and so hope to see you out there.
Great.
At 6 o'clock on Friday? 6:30?
The parade's at 6:30.
Starts at 6:30.
Yeah, the parade starts at 6:30.
All right, thank you. And Jeff?
Yes, it was a quiet 2 weeks. Nothing for me.
All right, fair enough. Nikki?
I'd just like to make a shout out and a thank you to the parents in the community who volunteer to coach all the little kids in the summer, the t-ball and baseball, softball, all the summer sports, and there are so many parents who generously give of their time to coach these little darlings and keep them busy and learn how to be a good teammate. So thank you, parents, for giving of yourselves.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Well said, well said. Thank you. And Bill?
I have nothing.
All right, and Wendy?
I have a few things. Don't I always?
That's great.
First off, I'd like to start out as the board representative to the Educational Foundation. You've heard me talk about this already in the past, but upcoming now it's coming up here now on August 7th at Southview Country Club. It's the 35th anniversary of our Educational Foundation. It is our Emerald Gala. And for anyone who's interested in purchasing a raffle ticket, I will be selling them here. It is for a 2019 Jeep Cherokee Limited 4x4 2-year lease from Fury Motors right here in South St. Paul. The tickets are $50 each. If anyone is interested in purchasing one of these to support our educational foundation, you can contact me, information on the website, or anyone on the foundation board, or even at the foundation office on Marie Avenue. Keep that date in mind, August 7th, if you're interested in attending the gala. Tickets can be purchased at this time. It is a fun event, supports our foundation, so we encourage anyone out there interested in either getting in on the raffle or just coming to the dinner. It's a wonderful evening. Silent auctions, live auctions, great fundraiser, and a lot of honorees with our 35th Emerald Gala that we're having. And also coming up, and this is something I'm personally really looking forward to, the Summer Community Theater presentation of Addams Family is coming up towards the end of July, starting on Thursday the 25th. There are 4 performances running through Sunday the 28th. I think it'll be absolutely phenomenal. Tickets are available online. You can go to the district website under activities, and you can find the link to the theater department, and those can be ordered now. It's a large cast, it's a musical, it should be a lot of fun, the Addams Family. And even though it's still June, a lot of our kids and families are already looking forward to fall sports. And just a reminder that any students who need to complete a physical to compete in their sport this fall, that the medical exam forms are available online to be printed out at home and taken to your doctor or care provider, whomever you want to see. So those are available under the sports section on our website. And also, fall online sports registration will be opening up in about a month on July 29th. You can go online and register your student and get all your fees paid right online. So it's a really a lot of fun thing. And just as a reminder, Friday, September 6th is our first home football game. Those are always fun and exciting events, so kind of keep that in mind beginning with school starting. And as Patty mentioned, the Kaposia Days Parade this Friday. It's a lot of fun. Like she said, the board will be there. We appreciate your support and look forward to seeing you on the parade route. And just remember, it is going down 7th Avenue this year, not 5th Avenue. Starting on 12th, like it normally does, down Southview to 7th. So when you put your chairs out, make sure they're on 7th Avenue, because 5th Avenue is blocked. You wouldn't be able to get down there anyways. But just keep that in mind, and everybody have a safe 4th of July holiday next week already. So it's always a fun time, and enjoy Kaposia Days this weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. We have no supplemental agenda tonight, so I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Great, and a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion passes, and we are adjourned.